seems to be weak.
Yeah.
And if you're to be on top of your game, you need to be angry.
Should be defensive.
You need to be aggressive.
Yeah.
You need to, yeah. And usually, just like how it is with bullies, that you find most bullies are cowards on the inside. They pick on people who are too weak to do anything about it.
That's 100%.
even most people who are angry most of the time,
yeah,
are actually crying out for help on the inside.
In fact, they are the most insecure.
They are the most insecure
Yes,
people.
yet they fake their personalities.
Yes.
Their courage.
So anger is a cloud that kind of shelters and keep people away from being vulnerable.
Yeah.
They hide within there. And
What of ego? Even pride.
Now I love ego and pride.
Is it was another way of
I will
protecting ourselves from that?
I will contradict myself, also risk to contradict myself on this one.
Yeah.
I think ego is very necessary. If you are to be a man,
even me at some point, there's a time I came to reason with it, and I said sometimes people may think of you as a pride guy, a guy with a lot of ego, but I see with time, ego sometimes helps us.
Ego is very necessary. Ego is what will tell you, bro, you are hard pressed, but you cannot call your mom right now to ask her for money to buy underwear.
Yeah.
No. And properly channeled, ego can be the difference between poverty and a life of having it together. Because ego drives us. And there are some things that people will not understand about men. But this chess, let's give back relationship kidogo.
Yeah.
The chess for a lady, it has a bit to do with ego.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same when a lady confronts you and tells you that they like you. That puts men in an awkward position. We are not used to being the prey. We are the hunters.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies to things like providing, things like winning, things like being on top of your game. Yeah. Ego is the difference between a lazy life and a life of adventure, a life of pursuit. Yeah. So I think properly channeled. The excess of it, of course, is wrong. I think that's where we get into toxic masculinity, where ego has surpassed common sense. Yes. Yeah. But ego, I think, is a tool that comes with the package of being a man. So properly channeled is the proper channeling of it is what we should be looking at. It's a bit like when Facebook first came, everyone was like in the Christian circle. Oh, tool of the enemy, 666, Illuminati. Right now, every church is live streamed thanks to COVID-19.
Yeah, they're using the same
the same tool for the devil.
Yeah.
You know? So ego is pretty much like that. Depends on how you decide to use it.
Yeah. So, since you are only doing a contradiction of yourself and defending yourself from it, do you think it also contributes as one of the major ways that which some people, not all, some people will protect themselves from that?
Absolutely.
How?
Absolutely. How?
Yeah, ego and pride.
Allow me to give you a quick story here.
Yeah.
I'm Ugandan. One time I went to, and for a long time, my journey has been between Nairobi Valley Road campus and Athi River campus.
Yeah.
So I didn't know much of the rest of Kenya. So one day I was dropped in railways.
Yeah.
And I'd seen, I looked on Google Maps, I was like, this should be a quick trip from Nairobi railways up to Valley Road. I mean, I didn't walk the journey before, so I was like, let me go. But I used one direction all the time. And I knew that one, but I was like, today let me be adventurous. So what do? I walk. Somehow I don't know, up to now I don't know which road I took. But I ended up at UON. After UON, I found myself inside fancy estates. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then I kept going. Let me tell you, I found myself in, I passed the Uganda consulate, I passed the embassy of China. I don't know where all these things are today, but I found myself there. And then at one point, after walking for 2 hours, and I knew for a fact this journey should have taken me 30 minutes maximum. But after 2 hours, I find a girl in a rich estate, and she was called Lois. She was a Leicester student, and she's not called me. She was like, Wisdom, hi, how are you? I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just taking a walk. For real? Okay. I'm just driving to Valley Road. Want to catch the bus to school. Yeah. like, my gosh, don't worry. I'm just taking a walk. I'm walking
The
around
ego
here.
in you is now speaking.
The ego could not allow me to say I'm lost.
Yeah.
It cost me 4 hours because where did I end up? Lavington Mall. From railways to Lavington Mall, walking.
What did you learn from that?
And I when I reached Lavington Mall, I was like, okay, at least I know this place because I had a friend who lived around there.
Yeah.
So I walked back to Junction Mall, walked down to Daystar because I had no money with me. But at least a ride came my way. But because it was a girl, because I, because I didn't want to admit it, I was lost. Because I was like, how? No. I was like, no, I'm good. Now, that's an example of foolishness, of foolish ego. Yes, to answer the question directly now, ego is definitely one way we hide our need to be vulnerable.
Wow. So, wisdom. What price are we paying when we fail to disengage when we fail to embrace vulnerability and disengage with it?
We are missing an opportunity to feel and to be alive.
An opportunity to be your true self.
We are missing an opportunity to feel with FEEL.
Yeah.
You cannot feel. My biggest one is on love. You cannot feel loved if you're not vulnerable. And I will make an analogy on it right here. For example, you've done something wrong, and you go back home, and you know your dad is upset.
Yeah.
Trust you me, you will not feel the need for forgiveness if you do not open up. You feel the guilt, you swallow the guilt, and you unajikaza because you will not confess what you've done and all. But the moment you do confess what you've done, and then you realize, oh, my dad is like, okay, thank you for trusting me. All is forgiven. Trust me, that is a conversation most men in this generation cannot say they have had ever, whether with friends or with parents. To just be vulnerable, to say this is what is happening in my life, and we therefore carry this luggage, this burden on our shoulders, in our hearts, in our mind, of exponentially, astronomically big problems, which, if shared about, they will only be this small. They will only be this small. One time I was involved in a very nasty breakup, and it was such a big thing. It was big. I couldn't see the point of continuing going in. Like my life had ended. I was like, I can't continue. Like this was my everything. And then after speaking about it with friends, with people who have been in this before, I realized how, yes, it's a big deal, but how much smaller it became. Such that now I could wake up and eat food, I could wake up and cook, I could do my laundry, I could live my life day by day, understanding that it is possible to be going through something and still living at the same time. Life does not end when you meet a challenge. Life does not end when you hit a wall. Life does not end. You continue living within through challenges. So we deny ourselves the chance to feel and to live if we don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable. At least to one person. Let there be one person you can be vulnerable to.
Wow. I love the approach. But since you've only used the social part about love, can you also relate it with the economical, spiritual world? What things are we missing? The opportunities in life, yeah.
No one will know. Again, I can only speak from my experience.
Yeah.
And my experience in school still can be a bit on the social, but even in the economical. There are students sometimes who have brilliant ideas of activities they can do to earn money or to get themselves out of a specific situation.
Yeah.
But because they are afraid of being laughed at their ideas, they keep it to themselves. And at the end of the day, that's an idea that goes like, and it just goes like that. And that's the funny thing about ideas. I don't know how it works with God, but it seems like if God gives you an idea and you don't work upon it, trust you me, 2 months later, someone is going to do that thing you thought about. And that is a risk of not being vulnerable enough to allow other people to share your dream with you. Another one is around school. We've seen posters go around of comrades going without food text is being vulnerable. Coming to the DCF office for Dexterians or to the DUSA offices still for Dexterians or meeting up with student leaders wherever you are and just saying, listen, it's difficult. I'm going through this. And then it will be the beginning of finding a solution for that specific situation. And this one I must say, there is no situation that is permanent. Usually the challenges we go through are only for a short time. And if you're vulnerable to be open enough for people to help you in that time, the next time it's you who's going to be helping other people.
Wow. So wisdom, you really have a lot to say, and those things are really helpful. I love how you are engaging with us, and I promise to host you again another day.
I will appreciate it.
So to wrap it up, can you give the viewers how should we embrace vulnerability? How should we practice it so that we can change the way we love, we live, we parent, and we socialize with the people around us?
I'm sorry, you had also asked on the spiritual end. I didn't mention that one. Let me just make a brief comment on that one. Spiritually speaking, now if we're to get a bit religious, being vulnerable can be equated to confessing our sins and weaknesses to each other. And one thing in the community, in the circle of believers, that is the factor for the beginning of the detriment of many communities and believers is the fact that we all fall short of God's glory. But then, at this point is where it makes the difference. In guilt, we withdraw and we are like, let me handle my sins to myself. Let me handle my shortcoming, my weaknesses alone. And that is where it starts. That's where you fall away entirely. Because by confessing that, hey, me, I have a weakness with alcohol. I cannot do without. Imagine just by doing that, you have overcome the power of that thing upon you. You don't need to keep it a secret anymore. The guilt is now you start handling it. Because now your people will know, now when I'm handling with wisdom, I handle him like this. And then he's going through this, so this is how I can help him to overcome this. But the moment you hide that you and wasichana, you cannot be in the same room at the same time. You know, then you're making yourself have a secret, which secret will become a burden, which burden will make you have more things to hide because things will happen. We are young people. We are young people and these things will happen. But the more secrets you have to keep, the less vulnerable you are, the more you feel like you're a dirtier sinner than everyone else. What happens? You withdraw and we lose you in the fellowship.
Another tick, a very big tick. So,
but yes, the follow-up question was, well, how do we then
now embrace this so that we can change our lives and how we live, we parent, we love, and we socialize with the society at large?
How do we socialize with the society at large? I think in authenticity. In authenticity. It is important for young men today to realize that they are men and not women in men's bodies. We are not made to be soft. That is why Jordan Peterson, in one of his episodes on masculinity, says it is important for young men to be involved in gangs.
Fighting their battles.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a bit too far-fetched. Yeah. But have a group, a boys club that goes to the gym to work out. Have a group that shares ideas on how to raise money for something. You know. So let's start a Chapo Smoky business. Let's do something. Have a group of fellow guys who follow their athletic aspirations. Because we have energy to burn. And it must be expelled one way or another. If it is not in the gym, if it's not on the field, it will be expelled in anger.
I think you should address that to the introverts. So you see, the introvert, nowadays in the society, the introvert suffers a lot. They think that by being themselves alone, locking themselves in the room, and just staying indoors is a cool thing. Address that to them.
Well, introverts is a whole different conversation. Yeah. They are one thing I found out about introverts is you
They hate company.
not
That's
really.
another thing.
They hate new company.
Wow.
You find them with people they have gelled with.
Yeah.
Introverts are, gosh, comfortable,
Wow.
outspoken. They're okay people. I think that's a conversation for a different day. But let us be authentic with ourselves. Allow yourself to feel love. Allow yourself to feel guilt. Allow yourself to feel grief. Allow yourself to feel happiness.
Yeah.
Yes. Allow yourself to feel joy. I don't know why there is everything acceptable about negative emotion, the anger, the bitterness, but it seems like it's difficult to accept peace, joy, love, kindness, care, concern. Allow yourself to feel all those things and understand that at the end of the day, the measure of masculinity is not in what females are saying about you as a man. That is not our measure. Because everyone 2000 and you're a girl, you have no right to tell me how to behave as a man. You have no right to tell me how to behave as a man. Because I feel sorry for the young men. Everyone is trying to figure this thing out. What is it to be a man? But we're in an age where, and I've been raised by a single parent, a wonderful woman. But I can gladly look at my mother now and have a conversation with her and tell her, growing up without a father, I feel like there's something I've missed. There's a bit that has been missing. And the numbers, statistics show the numbers of single parenthood are increasing statistically. And then we're having more and more ladies shape men, and no men are shaping men. That is a problem that needs to be handled. But ideally, at the end of it all, is to be authentic with yourself as a young man. Allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to be authentic who you are.
Huh? Guys, I hope you've been watching this and we are coming to the end of our show. As you all have heard, Wisdom has a lot to share with us, and I promise to bring him back on the show some other day or some other time to discuss some other more topics. So currently we are wrapping up the show, and it was a very engaging and what somehow educating. It was an educating conversation, and it's just a conversation, not even an interview. It was really perfect. I loved it. So remember, if you've not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification button so that you can get the videos as soon as they come out. See you guys later. Yeah,
No,
You've done well.
it's done well, but you've not done well. And we are